Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about The Look of Silence, and this movie is a sequel to The Act of Killing, and it's directed by Joshua Oppenheimer once again, and this film came out in 2014. And it's basically about the same thing as The Act of Killing, only told from a different perspective. Whereas The Act of Killing was focused on the gangsters who did all these killings. This one focuses on a family who was like a victim of all that, and it makes it really interesting, and just these different interviews that we get. And I liked how this movie hits similar emotions as The Act of Killing, and I also like that it's also shorter because I watched the director's cut instead of the theatrical cut because Netflix wouldn't let me. And they also titled it theatrical cut for no reason. Well, actually, as a mistake or a lie, whatever happened there. And I discussed that in my review for The Act of Killing. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, then I've reviewed it already. But back to The Look of Silence. I do like how this movie tackles certain things like some things are probably just better left alone and shouldn't be brought up in the past because if you do that, that can be a bad thing. Like there's things like that going on in this movie, and I like how things are presented. The conversations in this movie are very interesting, and I really love the tone of this movie. It's very somber, and everything feels very cold and empty. But it's intentional. I also liked how everything in this movie that was shown had purpose, and it propelled the story forward. Despite this movie being shorter than The Act of Killing, in both versions, this movie is only an hour and 40 minutes. Because of that shorter runtime, I feel as though this movie was trying to avoid hitting the exact same beats and covering everything that was already covered in The Act of Killing, and I liked what we got in this movie. Things felt new, and it didn't feel like a waste of time, is what I'm trying to say. And I also feel as though this is necessary to discuss. And I know I've been comparing this movie a lot to The Act of Killing, but it's a sequel. It's kind of impossible not to. This is just like one last comparison, is that I do feel as though this movie works as a standalone film. Like, you don't have to watch The Act of Killing to enjoy this movie. Like, there's plenty of things to get out of this movie that make it compelling, and it just works as a standalone film overall. So if you watch these movies in any order, don't feel bad about that because you're not being spoiled for anything, is how I feel about it. And while watching this movie, I kept thinking to myself, wow, when I think about it, the people who have been through this like huge event, like it kind of makes a lot of things I've experienced through my life feel normal or tame, like nothing compared to what these people have gone through. And I just felt bad because of it. I also like the choice of not having any music for like most of it, if not all of it. I think it was like used subtly at a couple points, but for the most part, it's just silence, no pun intended. And I feel as though that adds to the film. It makes things more intense, and you're able to like absorb the scene a lot better, and it just allows things to play out, and it doesn't feel manipulative in any way. And while watching this movie, I didn't really have any negatives with it, really. There are movies I've seen that I like a lot more, but this isn't a film that I would categorize as I'll never watch again, because I would definitely like to see it again and show it to other people, despite being a sad movie. Like, I can watch sad movies and still feel as though I can come back to them and get more out of it. Like, I like watching movies that make me feel emotions. I would much prefer that as to films that make me feel absolutely no emotion. Despite them being technically very well made, it's just like, if I don't really feel much emotion while watching them, then it's just kind of depressing in an unintentional way. Unless that's the point. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling a bit. I would highly recommend that you check this movie out. It's currently on Netflix, so it should be pretty easy for you to access. And bunch of other streaming platforms. So definitely check this movie out whenever you get the chance. And with all that being said, I'm going to give The Look of Silence a 9 out of 10. The only reason I gave this movie a 9 instead of a 10 is that I think I need to rewatch it to see whether or not if it's a 10 out of 10 or not. Because I feel as if my rating could change if I were to rewatch it, but from just one viewing, I feel comfortable with a 9. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below your thought of The Look of Silence, and my social media links. They will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for Miller's Girl. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.